The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, just starting a little early to make sure that you can hear me okay and see the screen okay. Mike says it's good in Ontario. David says loud and clear in St. Louis. Edgar is with us from the San Francisco Bay Area on a nice sunny warm day, one of our favorite places. Hello everyone, just starting a little early to make sure that you can hear me okay and see the screen okay. Mike Okay, sorry, just had to turn the sound off on my laptop, which has the YouTube channel going. Listen, I know some of you may have had trouble getting in today, and I apologize for that. Our GoToWebinar functionality is really crashing this week, and we're having problems. So thanks to those of you that persevered and are able to get in with us. Um, Sherelle Rhodes from VectorVest, our senior support person, volunteered to be here today, and she wasn't able to get in, so she's on YouTube for us, I believe. So anyway, it sounds like you can hear me okay, and that's great. Margaret, great to have you with us. Is really looking forward to your perspective today. And it won't just be me. We're very fortunate today to have Dr. David Paul, who's going to help us out with UK and the US market. And, you know, it's just so timely that we get, you know, every perspective. And I want to know what you folks are doing as well. Or, you know, I've got a little bit of a poll planned later. Are you selling? Are you tightening stops? Are you still buying on up days? We want to get your perspective as well. So we're just about on time now. I just had a little bit of an issue there. Um, Phil says audio and visual is excellent as well, and looking forward to help with this market. Yeah, and Renee from Saskatoon. So we've got a great turnout all across North America and beyond. We've got Switzerland and other places. So really appreciate your coming. Somebody asked about the market in Switzerland, and that is something we don't cover in VectorVest. So, but I think what we're going to show you will give you lots of insights that'll help you. Steve, great to have you with us from Kansas. And Chris from Wiltshire, UK says it's a great line. It's all working good. So that's awesome. And Christine, great to have you with us. Beautiful day in Toronto. Great views yesterday and a good eye opener to look at the industries, and we'll cover that a bit more detail today. So I think we're going to officially kick it off. I got to make sure that my screen is sharing here. Oh gosh. Okay, I think we're all good. Hey, welcome Ken, great to have you with us. Steven says screen and sound is good, so that's good. And Neil says the MTI has been dropping at a similar rate as it did in the second half of January, so he's gone to cash out in Ottawa. Yep, nothing wrong with that. Yep, Brian, I did click the record button. And just so everybody knows, with this YouTube channel, if you get logged out or something happens on GoToWebinar, the YouTube channel is running, and you can definitely click on the YouTube channel, and this is the link here, or just Google VectorVest YouTube channel, and you'll find our link. And the recording on the YouTube starts up almost, you know, within half an hour after our presentation. All right, I am going to make sure this is showing. Yep, okay, my screen is advancing. I can see YouTube is either lagging or not advancing. I'm not sure what's happening there. Let me, it should all be good, but Herbert says, is the period in the wrong place on YouTube? I don't think so. It did come to me that way from our screen is advancing. Okay, yeah, it's just lagging on the YouTube. Okay. All right, folks, listen, let's get rolling here. Again, I really do want to thank Sherelle for for stepping in and trying to be with us on the GoToWebinar. Very frustrating and for her, but Dr. Paul is here, and we've got a great turnout. Lots of folks watching on YouTube. I can see that. So thank you very much, everyone. All right. My goodness. All right, let's move on. So I think most of you know the GoToWebinar format. You type your questions in here and click on the send button. It should collapse on you after we get going. And if you have another comment or question, just click on this orange arrow here and that'll open it up. And if you lose sound, I meant to change this. If you lose sound or audio, it's really if you lose sound or the visual, please log out and log back in. Okay? And I'm going to keep my eye out for Sherelle. If she just does happen to get in somehow here, then I will move her up so she can see her questions. But it almost kind of doesn't look like it, which is really frustrating because I know she made a tremendous effort to join us. So if you call support and speak to her sometime in the next week or so, just give her our thanks. Oh, and Ravindra says, good morning, Sherelle. That's awesome. And Alan joining us from down under. That's wonderful. I know it's early morning there, so appreciate your perseverance. Just know there is risk in investing, and we don't know your personal situation and financial goals and objectives. Everything you'll see in here today is for educational purposes only. Should never be considered as investment advice. The YouTube address, George, is right here. When David is speaking, I'll type it in the chat box, but there it is right there. And again, if you type in VectorVest YouTube channel with the Y-O-U tube, all one word, channel, you'll get to it as well. So that's another way to go. The purpose for our monthly forums: further your knowledge of the VectorVest system. We want to share current ideas and strategies for making money, and this is a big one: protecting wealth. Our market review, I think, is all about helping you protect wealth, and in this current market environment. So that's a big part of it today. And then we want to create opportunities for you to interact and share your ideas with other members of our VectorVest community. We may not get to all your questions and comments. There's going to be a lot, I know, but we'll get to as many as we can and answer them as best we can. And then once VectorVest support opens again on Tuesday, you can call for additional help if you need it. This again is the VectorVest YouTube channel that you can then see the international forum. I think if you click on videos, you'll see it. But also every 2 weeks now, I'm posting a video on the YouTube channel. You'll see it here. So I didn't do one this week with the forum, but I'll do one next week related to the essay that I write. And Dr. Paul, you can see here, is also doing regular market reports as well. Yeah, Neil, I know that period is causing confusion on the link, but that's kind of what it is. That's what they sent me. Maybe there's some security reason that they have to have the period between the U and the B. I don't know, but that's what they sent me, and I did try it, and it did work for me. So hopefully you folks will find it. I don't want to forget to just remind everyone, because it is a long weekend, and you may be looking for, opportunities to reinforce your education and training on investing. And VectorVest does have a 50% off special for the Labor Day holiday. You can just go to www.vectorvest.ca/forum special, and you can then go into the course topics and see which ones might be of interest. Thank you, Christine. She says, yours and Dr. Paul's mini videos are extremely informative. Thank you for those extra videos. All right. So we're going to go to the color guard review, and as I mentioned, Dr. Paul will take us through VectorVest UK and and the US side. And then I want to take time to just talk about my essay from Friday's Views in Canada and go into a little bit more detail on top-down investing and show you how at least I create a watch list of industry group leaders for analysis and searches. It's quite a time saver for me. I don't do it every month, but I do it every quarter for sure if I don't do it every month. So I'll show you that. The color guard report, things kind of took a little backward turn other than Europe in terms of the year to date, and Hong Kong actually turned positive year to date. So there was some positive movement, but Thursday and Friday, really markets everywhere took quite a beating, and we lost a lot of ground. So in Canada, we're bearish, or we're negative again, 0.72 year to date, and you can see the red light starting to show up in the color guard. Now we would have a red light in the price column as well if we had not had a green light 5 days ago back here. So really it's kind of deceiving here in terms of how wicked that pullback was on Thursday and Friday, but you can see it in the buy-sell ratio falling pretty dramatically from 1.56 on Wednesday all the way to 0.86, and the MTI falling 1.28 to 1.16. So caution is the order of the day. In the US side, a lot more red. They did not have a green light back here, but they will have a green light coming up, and so they won't have a red light in the price column. Once we get to this September 1st is our, so I guess 2 days from now will be Wednesday, we could get a red light in the price column again. But you can see again how the buy-sell ratio and the MTI really falling. Oh, did I have the agenda for August? Well, that's what happens when you cut and paste. We know it's September. Okay, and then there's Australia, and they've been really recovering quite nicely, and you see the buy-sell ratio got all the way up to 1.71, and the MTI to 1.38 and 1.42 and 1.51, all in the context here of a confirmed up call everywhere, except in the first column you can see the primary waves have turned to down either Friday or even Thursday in some of our countries. So caution is the order of the day. There's the UK, the red light with an asterisk or star in the price column showing there's momentum behind the downside move. There's Singapore back into the red, and just really a difficult year in Singapore. Europe, a difficult year, and now two red lights with the star showing momentum to the downside. Lots of pressure there, and there's Hong Kong. Yeah, Ed from the villages in Florida, our kind of expert on thematic ETFs, he says that's a lot of red. Yeah, and it's all showing up just within the last few days, and I think everybody's kind of worried. Is this going to be another, February, March, where it starts out like this and just keeps going? And so we're going to talk about that. So not much to show here with the global markets. I just did a quick test of our 43 ETFs that we track, and just everything is a sea of red other than the triple Qs here still managing to hold on to positive gains here, and the single Qs, Asia. So you can kind of see, and then these are the 15-day leaders, and truly these are the only ones that had green over the 15 days. Roger says US should have a star in yesterday's price column. I don't know. We can check that out, Roger, but what I have learned over the many years, and I've been a subscriber, and by the way, I'm not sure I properly introduced myself. This is Stan Heller with VectorVest Canada. I guess I was there on the homepage. I'm broadcasting from Lethbridge, Alberta, and Roger's just north of us in Sherwood Park by Edmonton. But what I have learned over the years, Roger, whenever I doubt what's gone into the color guard, there's an issue with me, and the issue was I copied the color guard before the red star showed up. So I was just a little early trying to get my slides done. So you're absolutely right. I was just a little early. All right. Yep. Charles says it does have a star, and I just checked as well. So it's there, and I just was early when I did my copy and into the slides. All right. So my essay was all about industry groups and just different ways that you can use them, and just talking about the power of group strength is so great that it's often better to buy a mediocre stock in an industry with rising RT than a strong stock in an industry with falling RT. And the more buy ratings you see on stocks within an industry, the more confidence you might have that the industry is advancing. And of course, we can look in the industry group viewer to find the top industry groups. So I'm going to show you that, so I'm not going to spend more time on that. All right, so in the market timing for September 4th on Friday, just yesterday, steep losses in tech stocks later in the week dented sentiment, and the price of the VectorVest composite in Canada reversed and moved lower. Primary wave is down. Additionally, all of our indicators, the RT buy sell ratio and MTI, finished the week sharply lower. We need to see the price of the VVC CA move lower for one more week to give us a preliminary signal of a sustainable downtrend. That would be our confirmed down call. So it could come after another week of this downtrending. But just to show you, this is the RT kicker combo, and for our market timing graph on a 6-month graph. And what I always point out to our Q&A attendees on Tuesdays is that when we see a cluster, more than one red triangle with the RT kicker combo, that's when we start to really turn a little bit bearish. And we saw it back here in February, and it's showing itself again. You can see the MTI is falling quite sharply. Okay, so just be aware we did have a little bit of a shadow underneath the red candle yesterday, and suggesting that sellers were, or the buyers, the bullish people, were trying to fight back a little bit. But notice two big red candles, both of which opened higher and closed lower. And notice here the one-day Derby winners. I don't think I've ever seen this, where the one-day winners, on a down day, 4 of the 5 winners were bullish. But that's the way it was. But if you look at the 5-day Derby winners, we definitely are more bearish than bullish. And then just looking at the TSX composite, our benchmark of about 240 quality stocks, this is what's been happening there. We hit the high point last week, and then we've been falling, and then we had these 2 really big down days again, opening higher but closing lower, as you can see here. A couple of shadows underneath suggesting the buyers were trying to fight back. Big volume, 29% volume increase Friday over the 50-day moving average, and the RT just really falling and heading toward 1. But price is already below the 40-day. We came and filled this gap. There's another gap here that we might still come down and fill. And then if we fall below that, there's another gap here. This is the VectorVest support and resistance lines, and you can see it was pretty close to where I drew it on this cap. And Kamel says most indices are under the T line, the trigger line, as Steve Bigelow calls it. I'm sure that's the case. And then just in case you missed it, if you didn't listen to the color guard report or put on your timing signals, the DEW has turned to the downside as of Friday. So again, it's a good idea to act on your stop prices. If they're triggered, you should follow through and don't lower your stop. I'm sure most of you would never do that, lower your stop, thinking, well, it's just, an anomaly here and it's a good stock, so it'll come back. I'm sure you don't do that, but this is just a reminder. If it hits your stop price, take action and sell. You can always come back in later. Consider raising some cash to limit exposure. If you buy on up days, if we do get any more up days before we get a waterfall drop here, buy small with fewer positions, fewer shares, and tighter stops. Yeah, Stephen O says, I've lowered my stop. Never do that again. Yeah, usually it comes away with a bad consequence. When you set your stop, usually it's a considered rational stop price based on a lot of factors. And then when you lower it because, of emotion, it gets you in trouble. And here is the emotional market cycle with our MTI as our guide. And again, the safest time to buy stocks is when the MTI is near or below 0.6. And you can see over at the right, we're still quite a ways away from 0.6. We are at 1.16. We're sort of right in this area in Canada, and the US is up here a little bit, but we've kind of gone from thrill and excitement to overconfident, where we just thought things were going to go up forever, and now we're sort of in the anxiety phase of the emotional market cycle. In Canada, we're at 1.16 with the MTI. So again, the DEW signal has turned down, and we should use a little bit of caution. When the MTI is down at these low levels, especially when it gets as low as it did on March 23 and 24, with the buy-sell ratio and the MTI at historically low levels, that's actually the safest time to buy, and we want to have some cash available when we get there. Neil says, David always mentions the divergence between price and both the MTI and RT, but when is a divergence considered to be canceled? That's a good question, and you have to almost look at the charts to see that. But when the MTI and the RT start rising and the price action starts to hit newer highs, then the divergence might be considered over. But we're not there. All right, so hopefully this graph is helpful to everyone. We need to know where we're at in the emotional market cycle, and I believe we're right here in North America. Yeah, Salim, that's a good question. Could this be just a minor dip? I guess we'll find out, but we've got to be cautious. All right, listen, if there's any questions or comments about Canada and the country's color guard, I'll try to answer a couple, but other than that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Paul. Oh, did I say Powell here? I tell you, I must have been typing last night at midnight or something, but Dr. Paul will speak to us about the U.S. market here in a minute. Yeah, Neil says the MTI was 1.60 in July, yet we rarely get up that high in Canada. It really was an unusual occurrence where we got up that high, and a lot of it is the stimulus funding both in Canada and the US that really propped up the markets. I mean, we know what's going on, right? We absolutely know what's going on with the market climate and the earnings, so we do know. All right, well, listen, I think I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Paul, and we will move from there. Just got to go back over here. And David, are you ready?
Yes, Stan.
All right. Well, welcome. So great to have you with us. I'm going to make you the presenter and let you take it away. So here we go. Okay. And David, you should be all set.
I've just pressed the button, so you should see my blue screen, the VectorVest blue screen.
Yes. I'm just waiting for the YouTube folks to see it. Is everybody seeing the blue screen? Oh, good. Tom says yes, so we're all good. I'm just not sure why it hasn't gone over to the YouTube channel, but hopefully it'll be there quickly. Yep,
Okay.
others are seeing it. So yeah, I think you're all
All
good.
set. Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. It's afternoon here. It's just after nearly 4:30 in the UK. I'm in West London, a place called Notting Hill, where they made the movie eons ago. And thanks very much for having me, Stan. And I'll do my best to try and walk you through the UK and the USA markets and have a look at some commodity markets that I think are fairly hot at the moment. So without further ado, let me press on. First thing I have to do is to put up the specific UK disclaimer. VectorVest is pretty much the only organization in the UK that sells investment software and investment education that's authorized by the regulator. And that means that I'm not allowed to give one-on-one financial advice, although I'm qualified to do so. I'm allowed to talk about those shares that I hold myself, but I have to make it very clear that although those shares are suitable for me, they may not be suitable for you. So that said, we can move on, hopefully apace. That is the front page of VectorVest USA. And it, as Stan says, changed quite a lot in the last few minutes of trading. When I looked at it, I think about a couple of hours before the close, it had in fact printed, it would have printed a DEW sell signal, but in fact that went away with the reasonably strong close. So what have we got? We've got the short-term trend is down. We've got a red light in the price column of the color guard, which says that the price is down day over day and week over week. We've got a black star in that red light, which says that the price is falling and the momentum is increasing to the downside. The underlying trend is still up, and we've still got a confirmed up in place. So how does that look on the chart? So let's have a look at the charts. Now that's that divergence that somebody spoke about a few moments ago. That's the VectorVest market composite of the US, and I put on the confirmed call signals. Now the confirmed call signals in the US are quite different from the UK, and I can't remember about Canada, Stan, but the confirmed calls in the USA are a function of the buy-sell ratio. And we can see that the buy-sell ratio has stuck its nose under 1. And if this market closes down for 2 rolling weeks, we would get a confirmed down situation in the US. We're close to that. We had this price rising on falling breadth, which is not good. Now, this move up, folks, this divergence lasted much longer than anybody thought. And this just dragged on and it dragged on. It dragged on, as you all know. The levels of stimulus have been incredible. It's akin to filling my bathtub with a fireman's hose, the amount of money that pushed into the market. So so this just kept going and going and going. At our monthly or weekly Q&As, Phil from asked me, should we forget about the buy-sell ratio divergence? Should we forget about the canary? And that kept me from sleeping for a full week answering that question. And I wrote an essay, and in fact I did a video at the end of that week which says that this time will not be different. And I believe that that's playing out now. So situation, an awful lot of fresh air here, even under the most bullish of circumstances. And I'll try and point out those levels in a moment. So that's the DEW. And the DEW, in fact, although the price closed below the moving average, the 30-day weighted moving average, the DPO, detrended price oscillator, in fact, moved above its center line just in the last few minutes. of the day. So it in fact didn't produce a DEW signal. Now, this is the signal that I've been in fact using in this campaign, and I started to buy into stocks, and I reported them on every Monday afternoon to anybody who would listen in this period. There was a few very couple of those are both Thursdays, and there was a few very challenging Thursdays, but managed to hold on to a lot of those positions, and a lot of those positions in fact were stopped out on Friday, or I just got out of them. All my positions in the US were leverage bets, 5-to-1 leverage. And those of you that trade with leverage will know that when it's going your way, it's great. When it's not going your way, well, it's not so great. So risk management, much, much more critical in leverage positions. So that's quite a bearish chart. Now, that's the S&P 500. And the S&P 500 slightly stronger than the VectorVest Composite, more tech in there, and as you can see, it broke above the February highs, but it charted a very ominous bearish candle, and this is called an outside week, and certainly a break below the lows of last week would be very bearish indeed. So that's a really important picture to look at. Now, there's where it came back to on Friday. As you know, I tend to draw in a 21 and a 55-day moving average for support, and it's held this last top after moving down to 33.50. But it rallied in the close. Invariably, before a market, even a short-term bottom comes in, folks, this 8-day stochastic will get into an oversold position. That's what we found, and that's what I've found over many, many years of watching this animal. So I would suspect that even if somebody asked about, is this a short-term pullback? Even if it is a short-term pullback, folks, I can't see anything happening until Wednesday, Thursday next week at the earliest. So just chill before buying anything and just watch the color guard. But I think that we could see some movement Wednesday or Thursday. And in a minute, I'll show you what you should be looking at with the greatest respect and deference. This is an interesting pattern, folks. And I did a bit of trading once upon a time on the floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And the floor traders have a thing called a surprise attack. And a surprise attack is a very simple bar chart formation. And the UK people will know that if they see bars on my charts, they know I'm trading that myself. And if you see candles, you know I'm not trading it. I still trade with bars rather than candles. It shows my age, I know. When I started to trade, there weren't any candles. So if a market makes, and sometimes I can't remember, but I think it's an 8-day high, right? So the market must make it an 8-day high, and clearly that day was certainly an 8-day high. There's 1, 2, you can count them for yourself. And then it must close in the top 80% of the range, okay? Now, if that's the case, that is known as a follow-through day. And if the market were to break the low of that day, that's what the floor traders used to call a surprise attack. And that was a beautiful example of a surprise attack, in fact, on Thursday from the open. It fell, as you know, like a stone. There could have been a surprise attack here, and there could easily have been one there. Not there. There could have been one here, okay, as it was moving up. But that's a surprise attack, and I remember the old fellows charting that on a piece of paper on the floor, the proverbial cigarette packet. So that's one of the really good setups. You ever have the lack of wit to go to the Forex market, that's one of the few setups that work well on the Forex market, right down to a gnarly chart, in fact, a surprise attack. So that's what happened on Thursday. That was that's a 24-hour market. I've just taken this off the net. This runs 24 hours a day, and that's what happened last week. And that was the rally on Friday night. Just remember this traded for a little while after the floor closed. So that was the sell-off on Thursday. This rally overnight, and then this plunge on Friday afternoon, which was a really beautiful plunge. Those of you can see that outside bar on the 30-minute chart. That was a really, really classy trade down to those lows. I think we're poised for more downside here, folks. The downside objectives, well, there is a, if you take a fib from that low, that's the June low. And remember, this June low was also the end of the world here, and nothing happened. So from that June low to that high, there's a 62% retracement around 3200. And we've also got these old highs kicking around the same area. So my stomach tells me, folks, that this can quite easily get down to 3200, 3250, even under the most bullish of circumstances. And of course, the bears are saying that it's going to go down to somewhere down around here. And that certainly could be the case. So it's not a time, ladies and gentlemen, for a long fishing trip if you've got open positions. Okay. I think myself that we'll see another push up, and that push up will start towards the end of next week into the American elections. The only thing that I can promise you is that the volatility is going to go really, really, really sky high between now and then. So keep your stops tight, and I think you're going to have to be quite brave to get into positions. One of our members up in Manchester, in fact, Mark, noticed that in this push-up that we had, I'll go back to this, in this push-up that we had, the price of the S&P was rising, but the VIX, Wall Street's fear index, was also rising. And he felt that that boded very poorly for the future. And Mark, you're 100% correct there. Unfortunately, I've observed that as a leading indicator over the years, and unfortunately, like the canary, it can actually go on for a long time. So all of these things need to be, in fact, confirmed by price action. But certainly, Mark, the price rising, sir, and the volatility, the VIX rising, and then a break of the surprise attack was a really, really good signal for a short position. That was well spotted, sir. I had 11 positions going into Thursday or Friday. I got stopped out of AMD at entry. I got stopped out of ADSK at entry. I got stopped out of PINs at entry, and I'd taken off half. Stan wrote about this in one of his essays some weeks ago, the concept of when you've made as much as you've risked, get your stop to entry, take off half, and then let the second half run up the page, trailing the stop loss up behind you at the VectorVest stop loss. That's how I do it. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's just how I do it, and it's worked for me for a very long time. SCI was stopped out at entry. Now Lulu, Microsoft, Square, Coop, and TTD, I've been running since April, and I got stopped out of those on a trailing stop loss on Friday. So those are the only two shares I've got left, Horton and this speculative ISRG, which I like a lot. That's Horton. And if I saw a reversal in Horton here, that would be one of my spring setups, and I would be I'm holding this for the moment. Maybe I'm not wise, but my stomach tells me that that's going to bounce there if the market does bounce, but I'm watching the stop loss carefully. And this ISRG manufactures surgical instruments, and it didn't pull back that much in this pullback. I bought into it somewhere about here, and the stop loss is at entry, and I've taken off because I'd made as much as I'd risked in this little run up. So examine that methodology of exiting positions. It's worked for me for a very long time. And that's my new watch list, and it's a work in progress. It's going to keep me busy most of tomorrow. And out of that, I've got 3 that I think look good for you. Apps. Now, I think that this share has got tremendous potential, and it's setting up very nicely here. As you can see, this level was, in fact, it took that level out and reversed. Clearly, we're going to do nothing until we see a little bit of green, but nevertheless, I think that this can go a long way. If you look at the fundamentals on VectorVest, it should grow earnings next year at 50%. That's quite a clip. Look at the volume, folks. Volume. The traders on the floor can mess them out with price, but my word, they can't touch the volume. And not that many people know about it. Prices are rising, volume was rising, prices are rising, volume was rising. And we would need to see a couple of green days here on big volume And as my old rugby coach used to say, the ball is in, the game is on. So that's one for you to watch. Should there be a turnaround? And should is the conditional tense. Should. Uh, Workhorse, I love it. This is batteries, folks. And it says auto and truck. I don't know what that is, but it's batteries. Look at this. Massive volume. Then it goes sideways on virtually no volume. As it goes up here, we get the volume rising. And we can see up there, volume is rising. I pulled back on virtually no volume, and it's running on volume again. That looks to me as if the general market rights itself, and that's one hell of an if, that is a high probability position. Now, in these swing trades, I only need 3 or 4 of them a month. That's all. So I'm looking for the very best. So I like those two. Haven't done anything yet. Waiting on the color guard. And that's Sabanya. Now, I know the guy who runs this company so well. He's a gentleman by the name of Froneman. And if one of our VectorVest customers, in fact, in South Africa, Bodo, if you're listening, Bodo used to be his boss. So I've had a checkered career with Mr. Froneman because his first mining company was called Afrikaner Lease, which I lost money in. And the second one was called Uranium 2, was it? Or was it Uranium 1, the South Africans? But Sabanya is moving, folks, and the gold market has pulled back, and we can see that this share, in fact, has been moving up when the gold market has been falling. There's a bit of silver in here. There's a lot of platinum in here as well, and that's the Stillwater USA mine. But this is showing very strong, not relative strength to the gold market and the silver market itself. I would expect that if gold finds a bottom, I'm going to talk about that in a second, that this will move. So those are 3 that I'm looking at in the US. And as I say, that watch list is a work in progress. I'm going to work on that tomorrow, and I'll be talking about that in great detail Monday afternoon. It's just so exciting to look Wall Street straight in the eye and take their money, isn't it? Oh, what a business. So in the UK, we have primary wave is down. We've got a green light, as Stan has said. We've got a red star and the green light saying the price is falling, and the driver has got his foot on the petrol as it's falling. If we go to the chart of the VectorVest compass, we can see that the London market is much weaker than the American market. And I think that was David Atherton up in Manchester the other night who said that the FTSE 100 is the worst index in the world. I think that was your words, David. I can't quite remember how you phrased it, but something like that. Again, we can see this huge divergence. The buy-sell ratio still above 1, MTI above 1, and that means, folks, that the confirmed call is still up. All right, so it's still up. But the DEW is turned down, and that's the second time the DEW is turned down in the UK. This one came to nothing, but my positions in the UK are not leveraged, so that's something. The UK market's open on Monday, and that's something I need to attend to on Monday morning. The portfolio I'll report about on Monday afternoon in detail, but I'm going to cut some of the laggards on Monday morning. I'm not disappointed with any of them. Sylvania Platinum, folks, looks to me as if it wants to go. This is a wonderful little platinum mine, and in South Africa, I could saddle up my horse and I could actually ride to the mine stand. Look at this for volume, folks. Earnings per share is rising strongly. It sat with this old high here. It broke out of that. It broke out in good volume. It then pulled back on falling volume, and now it's going in good volume. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. But and the spread is wide. I know those of you that are traders, you're going to get upset because of the spread. But nevertheless, I think that's got a pound written all over it. Now, this is the speculation of the month, and this is DDDD. Now, I called it down here on the Monday afternoon seminars, and our compliance advisors gave me what is known in England, folks, as a bollocking, and because it was a speculation. And it moved. It's gone from 40 pence to 126. I think this has just started. Look at the volume going into this. Now, in the UK, we had a guru fund manager who started on his own and screwed up when he went on his own and lost an awful lot of people a great deal of money, a guy called Neil Woodford. And Neil Woodford listed this company at £10, and that's what happened. But look at the volume going into this down here. Somebody knows something. Now, those of you that understand these things, it seems that they've got some revolutionary new pharmaceutical drug that helps stomach cancer. Maybe Paul, our user group leader in Belfast, who's a very experienced pharmacist, could research that for me. I'm too thick to know what's going on. But all I know is that there's an awful lot of people buying this thing down here. So if you see any weakness in this, that's my speculation of the month. Those of you that are international players, folks, there's lots and lots of inverse exchange traded funds in North America that are liquid. This is pretty much the only one in the UK that I know of. It's 2x leveraged, so when the FTSE falls, this goes up, and that's what's happened over the last couple of days, and it goes up twice as fast as the FTSE. So if you wanted to lever it, or if you want to hedge your portfolio, that's something for you to consider. SUK2. Gold. Well, gold is at a really important level, and this will affect Sabanya. And as you can see, this gold market has been pulling back. Now, this is an exchange traded fund that follows the price of gold on the London Stock Exchange, and I'm sure there's the same exchange traded fund and probably a dozen of them on the American markets. Now, this level on bullion is 1920, and this trend line is at 1920. That's an incredibly important level for bullion. If you see bullion holding 1920 and moving up, then the game is on. But it can quite easily move down and test these levels down here, folks. So it can quite easily get down to there, and that would be another leg down. And any Elliott wave analysts will probably be able to see A, B, and C there. So it can easily get down to here. I don't know. All I know is if you see any upward movement in gold through that top trend line, then I think it's running for 2300. That's, I think, where it's going to go from this point. Whether it goes now or whether it needs another leg back to eject an awful lot of people. Markets don't like people getting rich that shouldn't be getting rich, so they'll try and get rid of them. My advice to everybody in the Monday afternoon webcast is to keep a core position in gold shares. In North America, I think that Sabanya is the one. In the UK, probably Polymetal, okay, and maybe AAZ, okay, AAZ, although it's drifted down a little bit, still holding that 140 odd level, plus it pays a 6% dividend yield odd. So watch for gold in the next couple of days. It'll make its mind up, I think, at the start of next week. That's silver, folks. There's what's happened in silver, and silver also coiling in this 5-wave little pattern here. I think myself that soon that's going to get to 35. Again, this is an exchange traded fund on silver. I like silver, and a friend of mine who's probably the best commodity analyst, certainly in South Africa, reckons that silver will significantly outperform gold in this move. Oil is not far off a low, but it's probably going to come back a little bit, and that's going to affect you Canadians in terms of the dollar against the Canadian dollar, which I haven't shown because I haven't got a great deal of time. But I think that this is an important level here. I think it's probably going to go down first before going up, and I've advised some of the UK people just to buy a few gold shares, oil shares at these levels, pretty much for bragging rights at the golf club, that we bought our shells under £11. I initially said under £12. I know. Copper is the one that I'm most excited about, folks. This is the copper price. It's charted this magnificent double bottom, and I think that commodities are going to have a great 2 or 3 years in front of them. That's what the copper price has done. And I think that certainly in the UK, Anglo-American, they're my old employers, I know, but it came off the 62% retracement down here. And I think that we're going to head up the page here very strongly indeed when it breaks out of that little bull flag. So I think, folks, that you need to be very careful indeed over the next couple of days. Heed the color guard, as Dr. DeLito says. I think we can quite easily have a pullback. The next target on the downside on the S&P 500, I think, will be 3,200, 3,250, and we'll see what happens there. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see a strong bounce from there, but a strong bounce with a great deal of volatility. I've given you 3 shares that I think should perform, although that's a work in progress. Anybody who wants to listen to the full Monday afternoon presentation, if you email me, david.paul@vectorvest.com, I'll send you a link. Or you could go to the website, vectorvest.co.uk, and go to live events, scroll down, and there's archived webcasts, and it should be up there from about 6 o'clock UK time, which would be 1 o'clock Eastern time. Dan, that's me, sir. I hope I didn't rattle on for far too long.
Oh, David, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. That was tremendous guidance and, lots of information for our members. And I'm seeing the comments coming in, super. And quite a few people asked about your Monday Q&A webinar. And I've let people know at my Q&A that they can tune in at vectorvest.ca and go to the live events. But would you mind just giving your email address again, and people can make a note of it?
David, D-A-V-I-D, Paul, P-A-U-L, @vectorvest.com. If you email me, I'll send you the link with the greatest of pleasure.
That's awesome.
Great to have you. Great to have you.
That's really fantastic. And again, the market reviews, I believe mostly come in on Monday as well. And that's on our YouTube channel, so you can watch David there as well. And Robert from the UK says tremendous input from David as usual. So very great. And I think the biggest thing is he said it's not time to go fishing. So I just want to remind people about that. It is that kind of a volatile market. Oh gosh. And and Stephen O says and I think others have commented as well, with the volatility of elections, is particularly in the U.S. there will be a lot of volatility for options traders, and that's something they can take advantage of. So listen, it's really good. And Roger in Sherwood Park says excellent, educational and entertaining. Of course, he speaks my language. So I think that's all the questions. I'm just checking YouTube to see if I might have missed anything. If you are on YouTube and you want our slides, you will have to email me at stan.heller@vectorvest.ca. Everyone who managed to get through and register with GoToWebinar, and I apologize for the issues, you will get the slides. And David, if I can impose on you, your slides are great.
I'll send you the slides in the next few minutes. Dan,
oh, that's okay? Awesome. That's awesome. All right. Kamel says fishing is coming to an end, but hunting will be starting soon out in Montreal. Oh gosh. Well, thank you so much, David. I'm going to take controls back again,
sure,
if I can do that. Sure. And thank you very much. And I know you've got some activities. You may not be able to stay with us. There are a few questions in the chat box. I think I got most of them. Ed, by the way, when you were showing your stocks, ISRG, robotic surgical systems, and another thematic ETF out there for that one. So lots of good stuff. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to take control of the slides here. And see how that all works out. And it looks like, yeah, I think we're there. I just want to, again, thank David and thank Sherelle Rhodes. She is on YouTube. She wasn't able to get into the webinar, and I know that happened to a lot of folks, but she is answering questions on YouTube, and really appreciate that, Sherelle. So thank you for doing that. I just do want to get a quick poll here. Just take the pulse of our VectorVest community, you know, in all of our countries and beyond. So I am going to put up the poll. It's a single answer poll, and I'll share the results once we have it all in place here. So if you wouldn't mind just to give me your best answer. I know there's probably more than one answer here, but if you don't mind to just give me your best answer, and I'd just love to share this with our VectorVest educational team and just see where people are thinking right now in terms of the market, and you know, and depending on which country you're in, it may be a factor there. Some comments are coming in. BJ says somewhere in between. Gary says very slightly bullish. So there's a few bullish answers coming in, and you'll see the results here very shortly. We're about 56%. I'll try to get 70% of you. Sorry for those on YouTube, but I'm seeing the comments coming in. Mitchell is bearish. Sandy, our user group leader in Kelowna, bearish. Noah, bearish. Bob, with our bull strategy that he presented in January, which has done extremely well. Bob Turnbull is bullish. And gosh, there's a lot. Gabe is neutral. So very interesting results, everyone. I really appreciate your willingness to participate. Jerome says, I think we have too much money poured into the economy to be bearish. That's a great point. I mean, it really has been the stimulus funding that has driven the U.S. market for sure, and really North America. And we'll see if that continues. Joe says short-term bearish, longer-term bullish. Awesome. And Steven says tightening my stops. And David says it'll be very interesting to see where the market is a year from now. It might be interesting to see where it is 2 months from now. September, October typically are not kind. Yeah, Neil, that's a great comment from Ottawa. Robinhood traders will negatively affect the markets. Yeah. Okay. All right. In terms of a bearish strategy, I think stay tuned to the color guard. They went bearish the other day with contra ETFs, and in our Q&As for a few weeks now, I've been showing the bearish contra ETFs for Canada. Tom says, I want a crystal ball. All right, I'm going to close the poll. We've had over 75% contribute, so thank you for that. And I think I can share it there. Let me see if that comes up on YouTube, if I did it right. Haven't done it for a while. Not showing up there yet. Let me have a look. Is it showing up there? It's showing up on GoToWebinar. So 27% mildly bearish and managing my positions with stops. That's always a good approach. 29% bearish and tighten stops to reduce exposure. In other words, reduce risk. Fewer positions means you're going to have more cash available when the market does bottom. Only 15% are so bearish that they've actually gone ahead and bought contra ETFs or bought put options. And 22% are mildly bullish and just taking no action, not selling stocks unless their stops are hit and so on. And 7% are bullish but will keep buying on up days. That is really helpful, everyone. I really want to thank you for that. Kamel, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, Bill says, what's your opinion? Are you bearish or bullish? Well, uh, Bill, I've been raising cash now for at least 3 weeks and uh, adding positions, but just very cautiously with tight stops and taking profits far earlier than I would otherwise. When the MTI was elevated the way it was, and then the market started to show signs of that real momentum loss. I mean, the TSX actually was down in the month of August, and so momentum was coming out of the market. So that was kind of where I've been at. All right. Well, listen, thank you for that, everyone. Let me see if I can get back to the actual screen, and I want to take you through the industry group rotation presentation here. And I'll just wait for things to catch up. But that was excellent. Thank you again, David. That was really cool. David says, can't we just use Hong Kong to know where the market will be going tomorrow since it's already tomorrow in Hong Kong? He says, LOL. How do I define a tight stop? I just answered that on YouTube, Sanjay. I use support and resistance, so I'll set my stop a little below the candle on the day before my purchase, and typically using the trade calculator that my son created for me, it works out to about a 5 to 7%, 8% stop, and that's the way I go. Great. Well, I'm glad. Looks like a lot of people enjoyed that poll and found it quite interesting. Yeah, John, that would be interesting, and I'll have to do another poll. He's wondering how many are day traders and how many of us are swing traders and how many are long term. Listen, I want to get going on this. We may finish in 90 minutes today, which would be pretty cool. So the advantages of top-down investing, and just a little method that I use to create a watch list of top stocks in top industries, just for profitable analysis, but more important, just for streamlining my analysis. I can use the watch list in searches, or I can use the watch list as a go-to when the market conditions are favorable. So I just thought I would share that today. Yeah, Martin, it's about the same for taking profit. That 5 to 8% right now is where you want to be. I'm just totally on my shorter term positions, my newer buys. On my long term, I'm still holding long term dividend stocks, and some of them just will not be sold, and others I watch. I use the sell rating for VectorVest, and even a 40% trailing. So little wider latitude because I've owned them for a long time. Okay. All right. So VectorVest System says for consistent success, you want to buy great companies that are safe, undervalued, in a leading industry group, and rising in price during a rising market. That is the ideal situation. And to achieve our goals, we're going to explore a top-down investing strategy, because I think quite often what you find is people go the other way. They'll find a stock first, and they, as I mentioned in my essay, they may or may not even look at the industry group to see how the stock is performing against the industry, how the industry is performing, how the stock is doing against its peers. There may be a better choice. So it's just something we want to raise the awareness today with our presentation. So what is top-down investing? Well, here's really the pyramid to show how it works. And there's certainly bottom-up investing as well, where you do start with a stock and go forward from there. And there's advantages to that. Using a top-down method, you may miss out on an opportunity that just doesn't show itself because it's not in a rising industry group. But typically you're going to find better opportunities when you follow this top-down methodology. So what is it? First of all, we start with the market strength and the economic outlook. So we've talked today and had a great presentation from Dr. Paul and myself on the. I hope it was great. What I mean is I also presented on the market conditions in Canada and some of our other countries with a color guard report. So we get that on a daily basis from VectorVest with our MTI graph, the color guard, and on the US software we get a daily enhanced color guard report. So we get that as far as determining the market strength or weakness. And then the economic outlook, every Friday we get a much more detailed outlook with the VectorVest Views, the climate table, earnings, interest, inflation rates. We have our news feed where we can monitor sort of fiscal and monetary policy and employment numbers. We have a lot of information that we need to consider, and some industry groups are more defensive, some are more cyclical, and so we need to be aware of all of that. And really our industry analysis keeps us on the right side. So sector strength versus all the other sectors. When we go to the VectorVest sector viewer, we can actually see the relative performance against all the other sectors that are out there. And just by a right click on the sector, we can find what industry groups are in that sector. The sector is the broad business, with many different products and business lines, whereas the industry group narrows it down into specific or more specific product lines. So, and same with industry leaders. We get to comparison of all the other industries, which ones are sort of the market leaders currently, which ones are rising. And Dr. Lido wrote in an essay, I want to say many years ago. I've been a subscriber since 2003, so sometimes it blurs. But he said it's really important to watch sort of the top 20 industries and the bottom 20. The bottom 20 have the capacity to move up. There's always a rotation going on, and I'm going to show you a way that you can monitor that quite easily. And then we want to find the leading stocks, and I've called it the best in group, best in industry group. It's the best in class, and top stocks in a rising industry will kind of pull up other stocks within that industry, right? So we kind of want to pay attention to that. And then when we look at leading stocks, we've got price, we've got the market cap of the industry, we've got the relative safety, value, safety, timing, the VST, the comfort index, the growth rate, the earnings growth rate, earnings per share, sales, dividend safety. All of that is in our stock viewer, so we can pay attention to that as well. The market strength and economic outlook, and I'm not going to dwell on this, but just so you know, this is a really important section when you're doing your top-down analysis. What are the economic conditions? In Canada, we currently have a Case 8 bear market scenario in which earnings and interest rates are falling while inflation is rising. So that's a fairly new phenomena here, that the inflation now is starting to move to the upside. Before recent times, everything was falling, but now inflation is falling. Interest rates, I don't know how long they can go, but it certainly is spurring housing development, for example, and renovations. And that has had a big impact on wood products with some great opportunities that I'll show you in a few minutes. So how to find the strongest industry groups? Industry groups are displayed in the industry viewer, where they can be sorted, ranked, and graphed the same as individual stocks. It's quite amazing. We use the average values of the stocks in the industry group to make this possible. Our primary indicators for industry strength are the following, though. These are the key indicators for assessing the strength or weakness of an industry group. We use the RT. It's the most amazing indicator identifying trend strength, trend direction, the magnitude of moves, and in the same way it works and we use it for stocks, we can use it for industry groups as well. RT ranking. I love this indicator and I like to put it on my graphs when I'm looking at industries and sectors. It's not something you can put on a stock graph, but you certainly can on an industry group and a sector graph, and it shows how the group is performing versus all other industry groups. And what I like about it is you can actually see on the graph is the RT ranking improving to a lower number where number 1 is the best performing group against all other groups, or is it sideways or falling? So that's a really key indicator that I'll show you in a minute. And then price and market cap are two other key indicators that we can use. So the average price of all the stocks in an industry group, the market cap, and the number of buy ratings compared to the number of holds or sell ratings of stocks in the group kind of help us determine how robust the group is. Okay, so very, very valuable indicators all the way around. Ulrich, if you looked, this is just a question. If you looked at the market climate, you can go to the views in the U.S. or Canada. Here are the essays that Dr. Toledo identifies that tell you all about it. So you know, I love this in VectorVest. You can go back and look up any essay where Dr. Toledo spoke on any subject, and there it is. Okay. All right, so how to find the strongest industry groups? Well, RT is the key. It's on that 0 to 2 scale. So we have the short-term price trend. So industry groups that are already at the top of the industry viewer, the default sort is relative timing or RT. So those are the high flyers, and you want to pay attention to those right away. The movers and shakers are the ones where RT is improving, and the RT ranking therefore is also improving when the industry group starts to outperform other groups that are nearby. So you can see it over here, the high flyers. If this were the industry viewer, you see the top ones at the top, and you see the ones where the RT is starting to move up, and those are the movers and shakers. So here, for example, here is the industry viewer, and this is just from last night in Canada. And we're looking at the high flyers. We have the internet service provider, leisure products. In Canada, you have to be a little bit careful. When you right-click on leisure products, this is what you're going to find. So let me go to the Viewers tab and click on the industry viewer. And I'm just waiting. It looks like YouTube is about 5 seconds behind. I don't know why that is. Could be my internet is slow a little bit. But if I right click on leisure products, for example, there are the stocks in the industry group. And so you can see that there's really only one stock, and it's due. And so it does happen in Canada a little bit, but this stock actually has quite a large market cap. If I slide over to the right, it's got quite a large market cap. It's got really strong volume for a Canadian company. So it winds its way into the top of the industry group, and you might say, well, that's not very helpful. But if you right click on the graph, once it gets up into the leaders in the industries, wouldn't you like to have seen this as it was moving up in terms of the RT ranking? Pretty valuable. Yeah, Christine, that's absolutely right. If you go to the sectors, and in Canada, quite often I will go to the sectors first, and she says you will see um, a lot more stocks. That's absolutely correct. Yeah, and Michael says I prefer delta searches on pure price, the average price of the industries or the sectors, moving over successive weeks, and that's really great. He says RT is a black box number. Well, I think RT has proven itself very effective, Michael. So even though we don't know the entire formula, we know it works. So here's what I'm showing you here. Here's the top industry groups, and look at building wood products. It did slip a little bit to number 5, but it's been in the top 10 for weeks. And some of those lumber stocks with renovations, with low interest rates for building permits, they're selling into the U.S. and all across Canada. Those stocks have, had tremendous gains. I'm in a couple of them and still am. I did take half profits, about a week ago, but these have been great stocks to be in, and we can identify them through the industry group rotation. Yep, Lyle, I'm going to show the searches in a minute. I'm getting there. So these are the high flyers, the strongest groups. And on the US side, currently building. Any surprise? Building, building. Home Depot, Lowe's, um, the housing companies, DHI, retail auto parts has been strong in both Canada and the US, so quite often there's a little commonality there. It's interesting that a couple of ETFs make the list here. Well, 3 of them make the list as well. But the same format for all of our countries, whether you're in the UK, Europe, Australia, Hong Kong, Singapore, Canada, or the US. It all looks and feels, and navigation is the same. So here's the movers and shakers. So this is what Lyle was asking about. How do we find the industry groups or sectors that are moving up? Well, I like the industry RT Delta. It's in your Delta searches industries folder, and this is the folder where you'll find it. This is the search that I like. You'll notice I do modify it a little bit for volume, market cap, etc. But this is a pretty good search. It's gonna let you know which RT industries are hitting a higher RT, and that's often very much a leading indicator of price to follow. And so currently, some surprises on Friday night. Transportation Airlines has an RT Delta 54%, leisure with that DOO up there at 50%. This is no surprise here with the coronavirus that healthcare and nursing homes starting to make a big move. So these are the ones you want to keep an eye on going forward. And then on the US side, you can use the same search, same folder, and retail, transportation, airlines again. Starting to pick up steam. They've reduced their cost base and now they're starting to make a move. I don't know about you, but I probably get 2 or 3 calls a day from either an airline or a hotel saying I'm just a lucky, lucky subscriber, and if I'm able to travel, now's the time. Yeah, Michael's right. Yeah, from Ottawa, the Delta searches work even better if you check on successive weeks and see which ones are building momentum. Absolutely. Yeah, there's lots of different ways that you can go. I'm looking for simplicity, and this is pretty simple. A pretty simple process. And so I'm just going to go to the US side of things, and I'll go to the Unisearch. And I'm just going to click on the sort here. Looks like I've got I don't have the folders. Whoops, maybe I did have the folders. Let me just move this over. Maybe that was the issue. Yep, there it is. Okay. So there's the Delta searches, industries, and sectors. You just click on it. There's the RT delta, and you've got a 13-week and a 13-week price delta as well. You've got a 10-day price delta right beside the RT delta. That's what I was looking for. And if you run it, now you're going to see which industries are up the most in terms of a percent price gain. So lots of different ways that you can go. Neil, this is where they're at. These are all your delta searches. I should check over here. YouTube, no questions, looks like, so I'm doing good. All right. So if we do a step-by-step here, this is to create a watch list. If you want to create a watch list of leading stocks in all of our industry groups, the more robust industry groups, I should say, then I just use a little search. You have to create it yourself. It's an easy search to create. But in Canada, we just use the 500 millions for the industry market cap. We look for industry price to be greater than $2 as an average. The stock sector, I'm not looking for ETFs, so I just use the operator does not equal ETFs. Stock price just greater than 1, pretty modest there. Most of them will come in higher than that, but in Canada we need at least some minimum measure there. And then the VST greater than 1 at the time I run the search, and I look for the stock to have the 50-day moving average of 25,000 or more. You need to notice up here that we're returning stocks, even though I have an industry, two industry criteria. I want to see the stocks that are in those industries. And I'm sorting by relative safety descending. So you can run this search every month or every quarter. I tend to run it every quarter just with my schedule, just to get the top stocks in the top industries and have that watch list ready to hand. And once you've got it, you can use it as a source of new stock ideas, knowing that you're picking some of the better stocks in an industry. It could be a time saver. You can use it as a watch list filter to filter on stocks that are in the watch list. Lots of different things you can do. Yeah, Camille, I'm not saying this is the time to buy top stocks in top industry groups. We've already covered the market timing and the need for caution, but we got to prepare people. There will be another day. There will be another day when the market is rising, right? And you can also sort the watch list by RS times CI. I tend to use just the RS, but RS times CI is a great sort as well. Okay. And so I created the watch list again last night, or updated my watch list, created a new watch list, and these are some of the stocks that that are showing up as leading stocks in leading industry groups. So I just looked back and said, okay, what were the stocks on April 6th, the DEW timing signal that came in Canada and the US. But in Canada, what were the top 20 stocks sorted by relative safety, and these were the stocks. MRU was the only disappointment. And it has been a bit of a disappointment. It's a stock I owned for a lot of years, but it's certainly lost a bit of its mojo. But it's still the leading stock in that industry group. And there's the performance from that very low bottom, even taking into account yesterday and Thursday's, well, the whole week of declines. And then if you go to the May 20th confirmed up call, obviously shorter time period and slower growth, but it certainly outperformed the TSX. Yeah, Stephen O says, I remove any stocks that have a negative growth rate even though they populated in my list. Yep, lots of different things you can do for sure. And I love Dr. Paul's favorite sort, the CI times the growth rate. That's another way you can sort your ETFs. Yeah, Kamel says MRU is having stiff competition from e-commerce companies. Well, a lot of retailers are in that same boat for sure. Shopify showed up in this list. Interesting. It was near the top in this one, but even if you bought it on the confirmed up call, it just, other than the last couple of days, it just wants to keep going up, right? That's the online retailer. Yeah, Wayne. These are the results from my search on the start date. It's not actually the search. Sorry, I should have been more clear. Here's the process. So once I run my search, and let's see, where did I save it? Did I think I might? I think I might have saved it in the forum searches. Oops, no, that wasn't it. Okay, not sure where I saved it. My goodness. Sorry about that. Wonder if I saved it in the Delta industry searches. Yeah, there we go. So once I run my search, and again, I'm returning stocks, not industries or sectors or the options rate of return. I'm just returning stocks. So then I just highlight the top one and hold the shift key down, highlight the bottom one, right click, and then add to watch list. So I add to the watch list. Once I've done that, I go to the watch list viewer, and so there's the industry top stocks. There was 128 stocks that met the industries that met the criteria. And if you scroll to the right, you can see the different industries and sectors over there. And then when you, I hope I've got the right list here. I had a couple going. Sorry about that. But anyway, so then I just scroll back the date. And again, in VectorVest, you can scroll back, just click on the dates just to make sure I'm looking at the DEW up signal, and I want to sort my list by relative safety, and then I did my quick test of the top 20. You can't quick test more than 100, by the way, but you can quick test the top 20 or any number that you want. Okay. All right. I think that was the sort that I used. I might have used a different sort, but these are your leaders. I mean, gosh, these are names that most of us in Canada recognize. And when we go to the U.S. list, a lot of the names most U.S. and Canadians would recognize as well. Yeah, if you start the quick test from the day, yeah, that's right. Those are quick tests of stocks, Wayne, from the list that I created yesterday. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I'm just looking for the best stocks with a track record of gains. Okay. So you would get different results if you just if you ran the search on this day, you would definitely get different results that I'm getting because I'm creating the list as of today to find the best candidates as of today and then looking back to see how they would have done. You're absolutely right. So on this day, you would have had a totally different list. Absolutely. Although some of them are showing up the same. So if you did quick test here, you definitely would get different results. Absolutely. You got better results. You would have gotten better results. Okay? But you're right. You're getting different results. I'm looking for the list as of today. Okay, hopefully that for Ken and Wayne that were asking about that. I think you'd be happy with 46% from that DEW up signal for sure. Oh, maybe it was because I only showed 10 stocks, by the way, in that quick test. That would make a difference. Yeah, Wayne says yes. I would be happy. All right. And then the watch list for the top stocks in the US would be a little bit different. You would have a little higher market cap, you know, 2,000 in the millions here. Industry price I make a little bit bigger. I mean, there's in Canada there's 121 industry groups. In the U.S. there's 221. There are typically a lot more stocks in each of the industries and a lot more robustness there. And you know, there's 8,000 stocks in our U.S. database and 2,400 in Canada. So we have to recognize there's some differences. But other than that, I did increase the VST to the 1.1 and volume to 250,000 average volume. But you know, you're gonna recognize a lot of these names, right? Yep, you bet, Jurgen. That was the whole idea of showing this, and there might be just one tricky little thing for people, and that's the parameter um, for the industry market cap. So here in the parameter, we just click on industries and come down to sales, market capital, and there's our market capitalization in millions. So we click on that, and oops, am I in the right one? Yeah, and then we click on greater than or equal to, and then here the custom value, we just type it in. Okay, I think that's the only tricky part. Everything else is pretty straightforward. Stock volume, price volume, and again we're using stock information here, and there's the 50-day moving average. Okay, I think everything else is pretty straightforward. Industry price split adjusted. Oh, thank you, Norman. So here we again go to industries, price volume, and we just use price split adjusted here. So we click on that. And then our greater than, and then the value I just use for 2 in Canada, 10 in the US. All right, so that's just a way to get rid of some, like we have in Canada, not so much in the US, but in Canada, we have some industry groups that have maybe 5 or 6 stocks, but they're all less than $1. So I want to get rid of those. I don't want them in my leading industries and sectors. Yep, widen the parameter field. Yep, there it is right there. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, you can. Kamel's just commenting on the home page. If you haven't changed things, you've got your top RT industries right here. So these are your top RT industries, and transportation truck. If I right click on it, view the stocks in the industry group. And again, we've got 2 stocks in there, but they're pretty good ones up until recently. All right, I want to move on. We're getting, you know, we're gonna be close to our 2 hours again. Maybe not. I do thank you for sticking with me. hopefully this is helpful for you to just to recognize the utility of checking that industry group, whether you do it first or after you've checked your stock. I would argue that checking it first and finding stocks that are in the rising industry groups, that are in the high flyers, it's going to give you a better win rate overall, or hit rate, as Dr. Paul often refers to it as. Ulrich says, go for 3 hours. Nope. but I certainly will answer questions after this if you have some. So here's again the top stocks in the industry group. I did this on the U.S. side, and again, I did follow the same procedure, and I can't remember if I sorted by RS or RS times CI when I ran my quick test, but I just wanted to have a bit of a track record or some confidence that yeah, these stocks have been rising, and if I'm going to look at their graphs, I'm not wasting my time. These are the top 20 in the watch list after I created the watch list from the search, right? So I created the watch list last night from the search, just updated my list, and now these are the top stocks in industries that are more robust than some of the industries. And there's a lot more stocks here. I think it was close to 500. You can only create a watch list with 500 stocks, and I was real close, I remember. But again, pretty darn good results from the DEW and excellent results from the May 18th confirmed up call in the US, although not as strong as Canada, really just matching the performance of the SPY. But again, you've got to look at the charts before you buy. Make sure you've got a nice rising trend, that RT is hitting a higher low on the way up or above 1. Those are things you look for. So here's what I love about this RT ranking. I mean, this is a perfect example because this is one that I actually used. I looked at this graph and I made my choices. I happen to buy OSB and WFT, and I do still own half positions. Not real happy with the last little bit, but I think lumber isn't done yet. Interest rates are still low, building is still going on, and I think they will still continue to do well, but following Dr. Paul's method that he showed us in the International Forum, I think it was March, of taking your profits when you have that sort of break-even point. You do it. So here's what you're looking at. The top part is our normal price graph. It's on building wood products, and notice the RT hitting higher lows. So you could have definitely come in earlier, right? I mean, things were lining up even back here. But here's where the RT ranking really started, showed that building wood products was starting to outperform all the other industry groups. And that's what I love about the RT ranking. It's, for industries and sectors. Again, not stocks. You can't put it on the graph for stocks, but for industries and sectors, it's telling us that this group is starting to outperform other groups. And by June 16th, it was already in the top 20. In fact, I think it was 12th. Well, it was 12th. It was 12th, right about here. The RT already was 1.42, so it was getting, extremely strong. That doesn't mean it can't stay up there, and it did. But it was a nice buying opportunity, and 40%. If you bought back here, I know that some, West Fraser and others were up about 70-80% from there to there, but this is a pretty nice 40% gain, right? Kamel says wood products will get hurt a little bit by our Canadian dollar strength. That's possible, and that could be what's happening a little bit. Our Canadian dollar does keep wanting to go up. The US dollar falling, which could be helpful to some commodities, but not lumber. Could be helpful to gold, for example, but not lumber. So you're right. But you know what? These are pretty darn good returns. These stocks still look good to me, although they look a lot like this. They look a lot like the industry graph. But notice here, June 16th, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 buy rated stocks in the industry and just the one hold. There's actually one more that I didn't capture here for some reason. So CFF I think was a hold as well. But that's what you really like to see. A lot of strength. Oh, well, that was it actually. I didn't realize I was that close to the end. I did just want to show you And again, you can do this with sectors, and you know, if you particularly in Canada, if you prefer just to go to the sector viewer, we only have 39 sectors in Canada. I think there's about 42 on the US side. Man, you can look through these graphs in pretty quick order, right? And what you want to do is just go to add parameter under capital appreciation. Here's your RT ranking. So you can see again containers from a sector point of view starting to make a big move, starting to outperform other groups. And then if you, it's actually, it might be outperforming other groups, but it's still falling, right? But let me just get my VectorVest layout on there. So again, add parameter, capital appreciation, RT ranking. So it's certainly up there. It's number one, but it has fallen back. But look at this. It's finding support at the 40-day moving average. So we'll see what happens from here. And then from there, you can right click, and I think there's only one industry here, but you view, you right click, you get this menu, view industries in the business sector, and there is only one industry, and then you can right click again, view the stocks, and those are the stocks. And this might not have made my watch list because there's just, well, Winpack is one that does have fairly good size. Yeah, pretty strong market cap just on that one. The others not so good. All right, but that's how you do it. Any questions? Oh, Ryan, you're going to have to go back and review the forum. That he spent half an hour explaining his policy, his sell rules. Okay, sorry. Then we would be here forever. But he explained it extremely well. Sorry, you're not seeing my slides, Bob. It does seem to show on my screen for the quick tests, but let me just go back, and I apologize if I went too quickly over that. But this was the watch list. So once you've created your watch list, you can either just look at the graphs, or you can also just do a quick test, or you can do the watch list average graph, for example. That's always a great way to study. Mike Seminato, who's I think on the webinar with us, presented that in a forum back in 2015 on the International Forum. The utility of our watch list averages and the graph and that sort of thing. So for example, when I open the watch list, there's 128 stocks in Canada. I can come down and look at the average values down here, and then I can also just right click and look at the graph. I mean, obviously there was this waterfall, but these stocks have recovered quite well, a little bit higher than where they were before the crash, but coming back down. Yeah, Ryan, I think that was the March presentation for Dr. Paul. How many stocks do you hold in one sector? You know, when a sector is going strong, like we've had in gold and lumber products and others, you might go a little bit overweight. Typically in Canada, three stocks per industry group is kind of our max, but I wrote about this with our model portfolios, the VectorVest portfolios. Oops. With our VectorVest portfolios, our best performer and the one that's recovered the quickest from the steep decline has been number 5, and it's the only one where we don't limit the number of industry groups to 3. All the others limit the industries to 3, but this one kind of loaded up on gold stocks that you can see here. And it recovered quite strong, and you can see the performance of the gold stocks really did boost performance. So, you know, I still say you got to be cautious on that, and you know, not overweight too strongly on any industry or sector, but that's always a personal choice. Perdip says, how long could I hold my stock? So it's always a personal choice. You should, when you buy the stock, you should have a stop price already set, and you can always raise your stop based on the stock, the current market conditions, and some concerns on market conditions. So you might raise your stop a little bit, but you know, it's always a personal choice. Yeah, you could definitely what does hold mean? Time frame is a consideration. I'm not sure I know what you mean, Ed, on that one. What does hold mean? Well, if you look at the individual stocks, they're going to have buy, sell, hold ratings. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but and if you do nothing else but remove risk when a stock gets a sell rating, you might be selling early. Now, in this case, you wouldn't have, I think, sold because the next day, the next day price fell pretty sharply, so you might have sold and then you'd have to buy back in. And I don't know about you, but typically when that happens to me, I get stopped out and then I buy in within, the same day or the next day or 2 days later. Usually I'll pay a little bit more. Yeah, Ed, a hold for a month is different than a hold for a year. I'm not sure what I referenced about that. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Fred says, how do I add the RT ranking to the viewers list? So if you're not seeing RT ranking in the viewers, in the sector or stock viewer, here is, let's go to the industry viewer. So what you would do, typically the RT ranking, by the way, is going to be at the far right, not all the way to the right, but pretty far to the right. So you may not see it until you scroll over. But if it's just not there, then just right click on any of the highlighted industries, come down to the layout bar, and RT ranking will be over here on the left, and just use the right arrow to move it over to the right, and then you can move it up or down. I like it up right near the industry so I can see it there, but typically it'll be way down here. All right, folks, we covered a lot of ground. I want to thank Sherelle again for helping out on the YouTube and volunteering her time. I hope this was helpful to you. Again, it's not the time to be going just because an industry is leading and rising and there's a good stock in there, unless there's an up day where VectorVest Color Guard says it's okay to buy and we have a primary wave up, then you might again buy small position, small number of positions, fewer shares, tighter stops based on the industries. But just be cautious out there. I think Tuesday will be very interesting to see what happens over a long weekend. So much can happen in the news, right? So you just got to be looking at the futures Monday night and Tuesday morning, and use caution. I think right now is really what the guidance has been. And don't go fishing. Oh, thank you, Christine, and everyone. Thank you so much for your kind comments. Um, I think we've covered off all the questions that people had. So, anyway, we've done our best. Yeah, Michael says, what about hunting? Can I still go hunting? I think Kamal said it is hunting season. So there you go. Thanks, everyone. And really appreciate everyone being here. And you will get the recording and slides tomorrow. If you were, we're doing this auto registration thing. We had a lot of issues with GoToWebinar this time, but you will get that. And if you want to view the recording earlier, and if you do, you can like the recording or like the forum or dislike it, I guess, if you want to do that. But you can comment that way, so you can just go and view the recording right here. And this is the link. And or go to VectorVest YouTube channel in the search engine and you'll get there. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll look forward to seeing you maybe at our Tuesday Q&A. And do look for Dr. Paul's recordings of his early Monday morning webinars. I think they started about 6 a.m. over here in Alberta, but you can get the recording the same day on Monday at VectorVest.ca or VectorVest US or VectorVest.uk, and enjoy them. Thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your day.